What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
Lots of awesome information this week.
But let's talk about you.
Alright, so we're going to be focusing in on 2 videos this week. And what this is we're just going to read your comments and then we're going to discuss them here. And these 2 videos are focusing in on the DuelShockers interview regarding Yoshi-P and Stormblood and the changes therein, as well as the unlimited free trial. So if you didn't see either of those videos, links are in the description below. But let's just go ahead and jump into this. Alright, so first up we've got Andrew Dunkel. Is that right?
Dunkel, really?
Dunkel? I apologize.
It's German for dark.
Oh,
I
yeah?
don't know that it's spelled like that. It might be.
Alright, so we're going to say, Andrew Dunkel, thanks for another great video. I really appreciate your content. Your positive attitude is the most excellent and welcome change from the many others' content. Thank you so much, Andrew. Obviously, flattery will get you everywhere. But so he goes on to say, and Lothgar Axe joins in, talking about the time age. So Andrew says, he would really love to see a time age, but he still would like to see Dancer more than any other job. He would love to see Dancer being a tank, using their amazing dance moves to build hate. And he quotes that Mog would cut a rug, but he also built hate while doing it. So, and then also Lothgar, he chimes in saying that we got Red Mage instead of Time Mage. And then he says that there's a pain in his chest and that the police send help. And so on that note, I actually did respond. I'm like, I hope you are kidding. It feels like you are, but please be kidding. Hopefully you're not, like, that was your last words, that you find out that
It's posting to YouTube from my phone.
Anyway, so he responds that he's okay and he's doing well. But the sentiment is that so Yoshi-P, as a part of the video, used Time Mage as an example because they were looking at many jobs. Their goal was to introduce a ranged DPS caster into Stormblood, and they decided upon Red Mage. They felt like, they really wanted to get Red Mage into the game, and then so Red Mage is going to be a unique role and a way that they've never been used before in Final Fantasy, but they feel like they've really kind of fulfilled that promise to the fans. And so, but they were still at the same time when they're trying to figure it out, like, what else should there be? And Time Mage, for me, comes a lot from Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a really cool, it has space and time magic. And the argument, in case you're not aware of it, Chris, is that we do have a time mage already in the game. It's called Astrologian. Astrologian has a lot of time-based magic abilities like gravity and and things like that. So the constant idea is that there's haste. But what do you have what are your thoughts regarding Lothgar and Andrew's comments there?
I would love to see more classes in the game. Honestly, right now, I'm mostly focused on what we know we are getting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to play Red Mage, for example. So I would love for there to be all of the mages. I would
just keep throwing us mages.
Keep throwing us mages. Any mage you can come up with, I will give a shot. I love caster DPS.
Yeah.
And so anytime they add a new caster DPS, I'm absolutely going to level it.
The final thought that I have regarding kind of Time Age is that while Yoshi-P says that it's not like this is going to be a promise for the future, like, oh, now in 5.0 we're going to get Time Age. That's not how this works. But I personally hope that means that Time Age is something that we could see. As an 11 player, I really wanted Time Age in that game. I really did. Never happened. And hopefully we'll see it happen with 14 at some point, whether it be 5.0 or 6.0. So hopefully that means that it's not completely off the board, because that excites me. Because just like you, I love casters. Like, give me casters. I really like to do a lot of the magic classes and really have a lot of fun with it. Like, again, we talked about Blue Mage on this channel as well. If it's got Mage in the name, like, I'm all about playing it and checking it out. So thanks. Yeah.
I think Dancer, to go back to the first comment, I think Dancer as a tank sounds really cool. Without getting too much into our next comment, it would be nice to see a new and unique way of tanking introduced into the game, and maybe that's what we'll get next time around.
Yeah, Dancer is is a very powerful and well-liked job from Final Fantasy XI. I'd like to see him as a frontline healer. Andrew would like to see him as a tank. It's one of those jobs that could fit in some roles with a couple of adjustments and stuff like that. So thanks, Lothgar. Thanks, Andrew, for those fantastic comments. So our next comment comes from Seagirl111. She says, "This makes no sense to me. 22% tank and 21% healers, and you introduce 2 new DPS classes." And so for the context is what she's referring to is that we were getting 2 DPSs, Red Mage and Samurai, and then Yoshi-P is talking about the ratio being
what our population is already playing.
Meaning that we have more, he would like to see it at 25, 25, 50,
Sure.
which fits a 4-man group very well. But right now it's definitely, not that. You have 22, 21, and 57% on the DPS sides. But what are your responses?
I think that while we want the ratios to be a little different, they're not that far off, which is why the queues are usually reasonable, and as servers get larger, they should get better still, I guess.
Yeah.
But adding 2 new DPS classes is the majority of his market. So if I am an automaker and I make cars and trucks, and only 22% of people like trucks, I can come out with as many trucks in the world, and I might come out with a truck that is so different that there was somebody who was on the fence and they sway truck, but you're never going to go 50-50. So when you have the majority of people liking DPS classes, they're going to keep liking DPS classes. Like, I'm going to play Red Mage because I play Black Mage. I'm not really changing my play style at all.
Right. And then Todd, who's his brother, plays tank. He's not going to go change from being a tank.
He's always a warrior or a barbarian, or it's the same thing in every game. Yeah. My other brother Adam always plays melee DPS.
And so he's a Dragoon.
No amount of tank classes or healer classes is going to get him into those percentages.
And so the thing is that, like, for me, who's somebody who plays a lot of the jobs. So I have tanks, all my tanks, all my healers, working on all my DPS jobs. I wonder how I get classified with that, like in that percentage. Is that, do I need to play a tank a certain percentage of the time to be classified into this? Because anybody can play any of those roles. So the numbers to me personally don't make a lot of logical sense, because where do I fall? Like, am I, are they classifying me as a DPS because when they decided to do the study, I was playing a DPS?
Are they basing this on which character you're logging out as? Are they basing this on playtime at level cap? Are they basing this on total playtime on the class?
And let's say they're basing it on total playtime at cap. And here's where the real problem lies, is that there's no real incentive for me to go play a tank at level 60 in any roulette, especially when the bonuses are XP based. There is nothing for me to do with that XP. There is nothing to make me go and say, yes, it is worth my time to go run this as a tank. Because, again, I'm leveling, okay, yes, but they don't have a lot of that. Like, I have to go do the hardest level content to go and work towards those mounts, which I do. But we're talking about still leveling. We're still talking about those trials. What is going to incentivize me as a tank to go in and play those as a tank? And hopefully we're going to see with Stormblood more incentive for that. Yes, gameplay stuff can always help out a little bit, but it's going to be like, why do I run this as a tank or a healer and not as a DPS? Because right now, I'm just leveling my DPS. I am that guy who's shifted from tank and healer into DPS because I need to level those. If I could have a way of applying experience that I was earning on a tank or a healer to a DPS class, then that's
faster
where
queue times, you like it.
Yeah,
you're the
I like
swing
tanking.
vote.
Yeah,
you're the swing vote. So I think with 22 and 21, you're never going to get it to 33, 33, 33, which is good because we don't want it to.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who play DPS in every game and they've never liked healing, they've never liked tanking, they're not going anywhere. But the number of classes they add isn't really going to drastically change these percentages. It might swing somebody who's just been a Red Mage fan forever and ever for a couple months, but if they don't like the class, they'll switch back. What they really need to do as far as addressing this topic is not worry so much about what classes do I introduce, but how does the game play within the classes we already have? What am I doing for people that are interested in tanking, especially people that are interested in tanking that are not tanking, like Brian?
Right.
That is how we add to that number.
I think the best thing that we have coming up, obviously, this year before Stormblood drops, is we're going to learn more about the battle system changes in May, I believe, and that's going to help just say, here's what's changing, here's the job-specific UI, and that, I think, will give us a lot to say, oh, okay, they do understand the issue, because the general consent, where Seagirl is coming from, it makes sense. When you look at it, you're like, oh, the reason people aren't tanking is because they don't have a tank to level, or there's not like a tank for them, and that's not necessarily 100% of the case. So, but I do thank you, Seagirl, for that comment.
It's incredibly frustrating to see the percentages and then see whatever action they take, even if that action wouldn't fix it. taken in the wrong direction. You know, you owe me $100 and I come over and you're eating McDonald's. Well, McDonald's is only like $1, so you know, it's not really that you could have paid me back right then, but it's frustrating to see you take a little step in the wrong direction when I see a problem that I know you're aware of and you just haven't fixed it yet.
Yeah, more information I think is going to help alleviate that.
Job specific UI.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
All right, and then our last comment on this video. So Phoenix Tears writes, do we think they're going to fix all the other cities? And so for the context, for anybody who doesn't know what they're referring to, is that Shirogane, the new city in Stormblood, has no zones that's a part of the city. So if you look at Ul'dah, Gridania, Linza Lamenza, they each are broken up in 2 zones. And this wasn't to satisfy PS3 users. They said they did this for other reasons, but the technology was always there for them to have them at just one city. But they did that just to help, I guess, with the servers and actually more of a server structure than the client in and of itself. But with Shirogane, with the new servers, the new data structure that's happening, all of that it's going to be one big city. And the question is, do we think at some point that's going to be combined into, you know, they're going to go back to those old cities and kind of rectify that as well? So, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Would it be cool? Absolutely. Would it make the game more enjoyable? Absolutely. Is it going to get development money? Not a chance. There's just no way. Every game that does something like this, the way it typically gets done, if it gets done at all, is there will be some RP event that will come in a future expansion where they will replace those cities with an updated version of themselves. I don't think they're going to go to all the effort to rebuild a city only to leave it the same. So if they are going to go back and update Ul'dah, it's going to be the new and improved Ul'dah in every way, long beyond just making it a single zone.
Right, and so my sentiments exactly is that Final Fantasy 14 deals with a lot of themes about the calamity, and we're not going to talk about how 3.0 or 3.x ends, but essentially I think that at some point, whether it's 5.0 or 6.0, that the game is going to require that next calamity, which gives them, from a designing and an investing excuse, is that how do we relaunch this game that's now 6 expansions in, just like they did with 2.0, saying, okay, and we're changing the old zones, they're now actually new zones. We're changing the way that new players come into the game. We're changing the cities and the layouts. I could see that happening. As to when that happens, I don't know, because from a business perspective, it's a capital expense. You have to say, let's say $1 million to go do each city. So we're going to go spend $3 million and update these cities.
But it's not going to improve the game at all. It's not adding new quests. It's not adding new mobs. There's going to be no significant amount of playtime that would be spent there where that player would otherwise log out and possibly unsubscribe.
Right. And so I think that it needs to happen, and it will happen.
I want flying mounts in the old zones.
Yes, and I would say that is
the same thing.
That is exactly. At the same time. Yeah, that would be
all sorts
that
of
should come in at the same time. And they could always just surprise me and say, "Yep, that was 4.0, and here we've done the zones." That would be amazing and surprising. That would be like, oh,
rightfully surprising.
Yeah,
because nobody would run their business like that. We just want to make you happy. I would love to hear them say that's what their CFO's new stance is. We just want to make you happy. But I have a feeling that he has some harder numbers to crunch. And
outside of that, I think that it's probably a part of a plan in which, if you again talking about calamities, that at some point something big could happen, and it's built into the lore, it's built into the game. It's supposed to happen to get us closer to Zodiark. So if you look at that entire theme, in order for him to come into play, something big has to happen. And whether that is, just, a calamity happened over off camera over here and you didn't see it, now you go in and, here's the rectified area. Or it's, here is this area.
During server maintenance, there was a minor tsunami. All zones have been reset.
Here you go. But no, I love the concept. I love the idea. I'm with you, Phoenix. I think
it'd be very cool.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. I don't know when it will happen. I just think it will.
It's my issue with houses.
Right.
Load zones. I don't want a single load screen in the game.
It's technically possible. It's just a matter of they gotta do it, and it's just gonna cost a lot of money.
So for the second video we want to talk about today is the unlimited free trial. This is an incredibly controversial topic, just like jump potions, because it absolutely ties into that mentality that I paid for something back then and now people aren't paying for it back then. I used to have to walk uphill to school and now kids just get free buses. So jumping right into the first comment, Benoit Rousseau By the wording on the main site, it looks like if I bought A Realm Reborn, I cannot use the free trial to get back into the game with trial limitations. I would have expected them to cap my character to level 30 or ban those jobs above level 30 while playing on trial, since we're probably more likely to get back to the game than people who never purchased it in the first place. That sucks. I played the game for a while, up to 35-ish, but I left after a few particularly bad encounters in the roulette, and I've been looking to get back into the game for a while, maybe level another job to 30, and then subbing again if I feel like it.
Yeah, and I feel where he's coming from here, and this is kind of where I was like, I'm happy that they're doing the unlimited free trial. The problem that I see that immediately was, oh, you bought the game. You've actually given us money. And let's say you're level 20. Let's say you were playing and you're like, well, maybe I'm not going to sub right now, or maybe you were subbed and you had a bad experience. And, oh, I own the game. Well, I can't go and play that character and have that same experience as that person on the free trial. Like, I have to, Bernard would have to go and subscribe to play, and he doesn't yet know if he wants to. Getting to 35 and kind of being able to play around with that, it gives people a good taste, and that's where I'm like, I do feel for people who just have that base game that, it would be a good, I don't know what the right answer is, and that is the problem. I mean, you could look at, well, okay, you own the game, and I've even kind of said that I could see it being a system where, okay, you can have ARR, you can't sell things on the markets, there's things you can't do, but when you subscribe, then you can do those, and if you want to do Heaven's Word and Stormblood content, you have to be subscribed. It's like, that is, that is current content, you must be subscribed, but for content that is 4 or 5 years old, you don't need to be subscribed, but you then lose privileges. So it's not like they're competing, and
no
obviously no auction house. They can buy. You can, it's like, right. Please buy from us, but
you're getting into gold selling.
Right. Well, then we can talk about the guild token and all kinds of things.
It's very easy for somebody to take free accounts and use that to launder money.
Oh yeah,
there's
absolutely.
no penalty for those.
Right, exactly, and that's where it's unfortunate, but that's where I think players like this get impacted. So the option that he has is to go and make a different account with a free trial, meaning all that work he does is really not going to be used for the account that he owns. But you look like you have a...
Yeah, and then he's going to have to buy in at some point. So say you already bought A Realm Reborn and then you quit. Well, in order to protect the investment you already made, you can kind of in the same way say, okay, well, what if I just buy a 60-day time card and I play for 60 days?
Right.
And, I got a deadline at work or whatever, and, I'm going to start playing next Saturday. So I buy my 60-day time card, plug it in next Saturday, and now I've got 6 days to try the game out again. It's a bummer that they're not introducing this in a way that is somehow fair to all people in all walks of life at the same time. It's wonderful for the people that it does affect.
They do have the welcome back campaigns from time to time. So the first thing is pay attention for when they do those announcements. We'll talk about it on this channel when they do, and they usually are pretty generous. Like, you can go and play, and I would like to see them make that time that you can play a little bit longer. At least, like, you have a week's worth of time.
Sure.
Go and have fun and come back, and then if you're satisfied with your week, then you can subscribe, and hopefully maybe we'll see more of that. Like, as the time that you own the game and haven't played, maybe that can kind of pull up in free time that you can use to do a trial after every couple of months or something. I don't know. I have thousands of ideas. All of them each has like a nugget of goodness and like all this bad stuff that could come along with it.
You want it to be fair. You want to say, well, I played for 2 years and then I quit. So the welcome back campaign should give me twice as much time as it gives you. But then it's like, well, you're always leaving somebody behind.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you back.
So anyway, if you have questions about the game, and and this goes for anybody who's like had the game and think about returning, please let us know in the comments below. Also, just check out our other videos, because I think that you would enjoy it. I enjoy the game. I've obviously been subscribed, and I like subscription-based games. There's benefits there that it puts everybody on an even playing field. But I still personally think that the system, a subscription-based game, can offer more than just you're either subbed or you're not. There's definitely room for middle ground from my perspective. But thanks so much for that awesome comment.
Grandpa Tofu chimes in next with, I am a new player to Final Fantasy XIV, but not to MMOs, and I hope to God this doesn't mean this game is going free to play.
Right.
It would destroy the game. Free to play MMOs just don't last. I don't care what people want. It would completely destroy the game's core, but allowing the limitations that the trial normally has, and allowing them to play for the game as long as they want, until they want to buy in, Hopefully that's all this is, and that they don't start stripping those limitations away.
And so here is the counter argument, kind of also where you're coming from, is that free-to-play games have, there's a connotation there. They do have very, mean, and they can, not all of them, but they can have very aggressive communities. And because also that nobody has any skin in the game,
Nothing.
It's like, oh, I'm here, and then if I get kicked or banned, or if I do something that you don't like, then I'll move on to the next thing. And it's kind of what, if you look at Mario Run that came out on iOS and just this last week on Android, there was 78 million people downloaded it, and maybe I think they converted 20% of those into, which is great, but their expectations were much higher, and the rage came from people play the game for free, and then after they've played so many levels, then they can choose to buy the rest of the game for $10. However, this is Nintendo being a business, and the rest of the market out there has been like, oh, it's free, and so the expectation that everybody has
free to play.
You what?
I wouldn't have done it free to play. I would have introduced it as a $10 game right from the get-go.
And that's
Just
the thing.
weed
It's
those
like
people out. You get the same conversion or near to it.
Yeah, and so that's where, and you don't get that rage. Our game is $10. It's worth it, and you can play it.
As a matter of fact, it's the reason I didn't download it right away. Because free-to-play games spam me with ads, they spam me with notifications, right? They're trying to make money, and so they've got to...
They're hoping
I
that
didn't buy in, so now they're trying to rush me towards that buy-in phase because they're starting to give me their investment, and they're not getting anything back yet. So I don't like free-to-play games specifically for that reason. I didn't want to see a free-to-play Mario. If there had been a $10 one right from the get-go, I would have been more encouraged to jump on day one.
Yeah. So what I talk about, especially with ways that you can onboard and get people invested and hooked in the game, because your first 30 levels are okay. You really get hooked when all of a sudden you start getting into the 50s, and you're like, oh, here's the end game. Yeah. And that's where you're like, oh, there is all this extra stuff, and I've enjoyed the game. And that's where I'm not for free to play, but I am for buy to play with restrictions. And that can be many other things, and that's kind of what my comments earlier were about, and that's just where I come from. But I'm with you, like free to play, where people need to have skin in the game. But with the trial, I think that's good. I think giving people enough time to experience the game at their own pace. The trial used to be 14 days. Now you can play and you can level, and maybe it'll be interesting to see if this helps with conversion rates. It'll be interesting to see if this helps with conversion rates, because if all of a sudden you're like, well, I've got 3 classes at 35 now, oh man, this is really interesting. Let me go ahead and buy the game and subscribe, because they do let you transfer from unlimited to a bot version.
Yeah, and I think the other games are going to be watching Final Fantasy very, very closely to see how this lease to own method works in MMOs.
Oh yeah, I agree. Thanks, Grandpa, for the comment. Not my actual grandpa, but.
My grandpa did not weigh in on Final Fantasy, hardly at all. Makona says, I think it is possible to make ARR content subscriptionless as long as you make these players unable to sell things on the market, trade items with other players. Buying is fine. You just kind of touched on this.
And that's why I put their comment in here as well, is because there could be benefit to where if they're able to play and they've got certain restrictions, that they could get hooked and they could go and play. But the downside, and this is something you touched on earlier, it can make for easy money laundering accounts. Like, oh, I'm going to have all of you guys go farm for me, and you cost me nothing. Like, just go farm. I know no subscription for you, and then we're going to take all of that you've made, and we're going to give it to this account that can do all that stuff and really go either wreck the economy for fun and games or sell that for money. And so there is risks there.
I paid $15 to a website. They know my in-game retainer's name. Mm-hmm. I now list a piece of linen cloth for 900,000 gil. They purchase it with their account that costs them basically nothing. Mm-hmm. They're not risking a subscription. They're not risking a real... it's just...
They get caught doing something illegal and they just do another one. Fine. It's a tough...
Because there's no credit card tied to that account now.
Right. There's a hard line to walk. And that's difficult. And I'm with you, though. Like, I just feel like there is a right way to do it. And it just hasn't been found. And maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm... Maybe I'm just a dreamer in that regards, and it just can't be done. But, all right. Thanks, Mokano? Sure.
Makona?
Yeah, we'll go with that one.
I'm always going to pronounce it differently than you. Just assume.
One of us is right?
One of us is right.
Thanks so much for that comment.
Sathis says, I honestly don't see them making ARR non-sub. In fact, I really feel like that is a step in the wrong direction. I understand it may open up the game to a few more players, but when MMOs become free-to-play, or part of them do, it opens up to really toxic people, which you just kind of mentioned, and people who think they are owed everything.
Yeah, why should I have to get this? Why should, give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Me.
You gave me the first thing. What's the big deal? Just give me a little bit more. And when the toxic people flood in, because it doesn't cost them a dime, and they don't have any reason not to be toxic, losing their account, things like that.
Well, and then their investment in the character.
Yeah, there's no way to punish them.
We've been playing for how many years, and it's like we spent a lot of money on this game. I think we've gotten the value out of it. But you're right, like, I'm not gonna all of a sudden go and be just like go hack the game or go do something illegal, because it's like I'm walking away from a lot of money.
A video with a really cool exploit?
Yeah.
That's a neat video. I'm not touching it.
Nope, not at all.
I have seen on many MMOs, and honestly I think you could spread this to just free to play in general.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the community in many of these like apps and stuff on games. There's no loyalty there. This will happen without a doubt in my mind. The special thing about Final Fantasy XIV is the attitude the player base has. For the most part, the majority are amazing and nice. I'm so glad you're having this experience.
Yes.
That will end if they make the base game free.
And that, I think they're touching on, Sathis is touching on something very important here, is that we're all bought in. Like, everybody who you run into for the most part is on the same playing field.
That's where the "you don't pay my sub" comment.
Yeah, don't tell me how to play. You don't pay my sub.
Everybody's paying one.
Yeah, it's like, and that's I like it from a business perspective, because it's like, we're funding new content. I'm enjoying this. If we keep paying, they're going to keep making fun things for me to do and to enjoy. And I actually think an MMO is the cheapest form of entertainment out there.
Per hour, definitely.
Per hour. You're, like you look at a movie. You go to a movie once a month, and that's your sub plus pop. It's like you're going to spend way more on like going out to one movie in the course of a month than you do with an MMO. And so I still think that there is a market out there. There are people out there who would enjoy this category, but are intimidated away from a subscription because they never had one. Why do I need to subscribe to your game? I like Final Fantasy. I like what you're talking about, but I'm intimidated. And maybe it's a matter that the 30 days you get when you buy the game, maybe that's just giving them, give them a little bit more time. Say, hey, yeah, we want you. And that's
maybe the 30 days doesn't start till you hit level 30.
And that's actually a brilliant idea. We just solved the problem right here on the show.
The moment you hit 30, timer starts.
Mm-hmm. Just so that you can spend.
You want to stretch it out at 29? Be my guest, but
right. But then you're in that free trial mode. Then you're also here and here. But then still, no matter what, you probably have somebody try to game it. Like,
so I'm gonna game it. I'm gonna get all my characters to 29, and then
cross over that
and
thresh
then cross over and
then
sprint.
Go then sprint.
And somehow screw Square Enix out of $15. They'll never see it coming.
They'll never make this extra $15. It's like, no, it's like, but you're playing the game, you're interacting, and so all in all, obviously there could be tons of problems with that, but I definitely like the community with 14. Like I don't want to ever come across that I'm advocating for toxicity and negativity. In fact, that's something that we should actively try to work against, and being very positive, helping out new players, being very invitive and encouraging. And you see that little leaf by their name, and like, hey, can I help you? Do you have any questions? Because it is a big game, it is intimidating, and I think the big game and the intimidation, and then you're paying, can all factor into just this additional sense of, oh man, am I doing the right thing, or am I doing, I don't want to be wasting my money or my time.
And the game is not as long of a window to look at as EVE. It's not as intense of a window to look at as WoW. So it does have a unique ability to appeal to people who have never played MMOs before.
Right.
Maybe only really matched by maybe Guild Wars.
Yeah.
Kind of had that ease of use to just kind of work your way in, not hardcore, no meters are being posted. Let's just chill out and enjoy the game.
Right.
So I don't want to lose that.
Well, anyway, thanks, Sathis, for that fantastic comment and point. I mean, you're pretty much spot on.
And let's finish on probably the hardest one to deal with.
All right.
Ice Queen. That's a nice idea for those who are just getting into the game. I don't think anybody here is disagreeing with that.
Right.
I wonder if they can do anything to compensate those who didn't have those opportunities, though. And that's where it gets hard.
That's a very tough line and difficult question to walk, right? Because now you have people who maybe did the free trial, maybe bought the game, and just like earlier want to come back. Like, well, what about me, right? Well, let's just factor out, like, let's just look at me like, hey, do I get any free time because, like, I played? But the thing that I always kind of break down and look at, and I think you're on the same page, but you can let me know if you're not, is that I got what I paid for. We had established this agreement that I'm subscribed and I'm paid and I'm in, and so I've gotten veteran rewards and I've had experiences that somebody who's now coming in won't get to have. I got to experience the end of the era with 1.0. Like, people can't go back and relive that. You can only see it like on YouTube and things like that. So it's kind of weird. It's it's a hard line to walk because like, hey, okay, let's take it outside of the games for a second. Like, if I was let's say I'm a customer with AT&T from a cell phone perspective, and I'm not under contract, which all this is true, and they come out with a new promotional deal to get new customers saying, hey, we want you, and if you come in, instead of paying $40 a line, you will pay $30 a line. And so what we do is we call them up and we're like, hey, we see this new deal, and because we're not under contract, most of the time they give it to us because it makes sense because we can leave. If we're under contract, they're like, sorry, like, you have a contract, we've established this. And
I'm under contract for a few more months. So I am not given that same opportunity, and you are, and new people are, and I am left high and dry.
Because
but I'm not really high and dry. I'm getting exactly what I agreed to on the day I bought.
And then
a year ago when I needed to text, I could text on AT&T, and this new person couldn't. Mm-hmm. They weren't on AT&T.
Right.
And so I enjoyed Game Night a year ago. I paid to have access then, and I got access and I enjoyed it. I'm paying to have access now. I'm getting access and I'm enjoying it. And in the future, if I continue to pay to get access, I will enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. And so outside of paying for access, you're also getting veterans rewards. Mm-hmm. They are rewarding you in those kind of ways. What I would like to see is that, and maybe I'm wrong, but there could be people out there who've been subscribed for the last couple of years and they're like, well, is there anything in it for me? And the game's there. But I'd like to see for those players that we looked at earlier where they are level 20 or 30. They have ARR. What can they do? What can Square Enix do to say, welcome back, and here's plenty of playtime to really get you invested in your character? Because the thing I've seen, and I've talked about this on the new player guide, the mistake that new players usually make is they'll get to maybe 20 or 30 and they'll go play another job and they'll get to 20 or 30 and they'll go play another job and they'll get to that same range, and then by that point they're burnt out and they're like, what?
I tried to get to 60. The game was way too long.
Oh, way too long. No. It's like you changed and you did that same content over and over and over and over again, and then you burned out, and it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. The thing is, and that's why our new player guide, it's just get to one.
With it.
Just get one done, and it'll make all your others easier.
Answer.
Yeah. You'll get all the way, and you'll enjoy it, and then you'll be a part of Endgame, and then all of a sudden, all of these options and things open up for you, and then if you want to still level at that point, those options are there.
Oh, and you're fund the crap out of that low-level character.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be able...
You got plenty of money now.
Yeah, you can be like, all right, all high quality. I mean, I know a lot of players, it's like, I wear nothing but high quality, especially when leveling. All the best gear always, because it costs them nothing. Like, I get funded.
Brian used to subsidize his wife when she was leveling.
Yeah.
And when it was his money, she wore all high quality, and when you cut her off, she was like, "This stuff's expensive."
Like, I'm we're gonna keep. I can go. I'll pay $3,000, but I won't go higher than that. Like, baby, here, just go get the right gear. Yeah, but it's that I get the sentiment.
It's a hard question.
It's absolutely a hard question.
I want them to be able to continue to improve the experience for people who are new today. There's new people being born every day. I hope they have a better life than I did. Mm-hmm. Not because mine was bad, but I just hope that the world continues to be a better and better place. But it is hard to think that human nature says, well, what about me? Mm-hmm.
It's very human.
I don't want them to leave me behind. Mm-hmm. They're getting it so easy now. These kids have iPads.
An iPad would have made my entire education so much easier. I'm dyslexic, and until I actually had one, like reading was a huge obstacle. One of the reasons why, like, you'll see me misspell and probably mispronounce lots of things just because it's just the way my brain works, and so it's like, yeah, but you know,
there's no way to go back and fix it. So I'm glad Square Enix is looking for ways to improve. I hope they're not too worried about hurting people's feelings and they can make these improvements. If they can think of a way to do it where it's fair to more groups of people, that would be awesome. Tough question.
Yeah, thanks, Ice Cream. I like it. The 007 at the end of the name too. That's just an awesome name. I like it. I'm like, that's a great one. For Work to Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and we're going to keep these conversations rolling. Our goal right now is to kind of have these like every 2 weeks, you know, and just kind of that's the cadence in which that we're looking. If you'd like to see this video more often, let us know as well. We're always looking for your feedback. And then if you got comments on any of the topics we talked about today, we'd love to hear from you as well. And who knows, you might show up in the next community feedback episode. So, well, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
They can go ahead and hit that subscribe button if they haven't.
And that like button as well. So until next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic week.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Take care. Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click over here to see more videos just like it. Or you should click down here to check out our recent vlog. But you can also click somewhere down here below to hit the subscribe button, as well as check out our other info. Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.